The mirror cracked before Shayla even realized the scream was her own. It started in the throne room of her father's palace. High ceilings of carved oak, banners of deep indigo fluttering in the draft from shattered windows. King Harlan had refused the tax demand one too many times. King Lucas arrived at dusk with his black-cloaked legion, eyes glowing faintly violet under the hoods, the air around them thick with the scent of scorched iron and old blood. Shayla had hidden in the alcove behind the throne, heart hammering so loud she feared it would betray her. She watched her father stand tall, chest out, voice steady, refusing again. Lucas smiled then, thin and cold, and raised one gloved hand. The spell came fast, a flash of violet light, a low, resonant hum that vibrated through the stone floor. Her father's sword clattered to the marble. Then her mother, Queen Alara, reached for Harlan, mouth open in a silent cry. Her brother, young Rowan, lunged forward with his training blade half-drawn. The mirror on the far wall, ancient, silver-framed, taller than 3 men, rippled like water struck by a stone. One by one they were pulled in. Harlan first, his body folding inward, shrinking to nothing as violet threads wrapped around him and dragged him through the glass. Alara next, hands outstretched toward her daughter, fingers brushing the air where Shayla stood frozen. Rowan last, small, brave, screaming her name until the mirror swallowed the sound. Silence. The mirror stilled. Inside it, 3 figures stood frozen, mouths open, eyes wide, trapped in perfect stillness like paintings in a frame. Lucas turned slowly. His gaze found Shayla in the shadows. She stepped forward, legs shaking, chin lifted because running would have been pointless. "You have a choice, little princess," he said, voice smooth as oil on water. "Your family lives in that mirror. They breathe, they feel, they suffer. But they do not age. They do not die. Not while I will it." Shayla's throat closed. "Release them," she said. The words came out steady. She was surprised at that. Lucas smiled wider. "Serve me, willingly, as my mistress, in my bed, in my hall, wherever I desire. Do that, and one day, when I am satisfied, I will shatter the mirror and let them go." She stared at the glass. Her mother's hand still reached toward her. Rowan's face was locked in mid-cry. "How long?" she asked. "As long as it pleases me." She looked back at him. Tall, pale, dark hair falling in waves to his shoulders. Eyes the color of storm clouds lit by lightning. Beautiful in the way a blade is beautiful. Deadly. She swallowed once. "Then take me," she said. Lucas laughed, soft, delighted. He extended a hand. She took it. The moment their skin touched, "Welcome to Ella's romance home. I hope you're enjoying yourself. Please don't leave without clicking on the like and subscribe button, and also drop your thoughts on the story." Now let's continue. Violet light flared along his fingers, wrapping around her wrist like a bracelet of shadow. It burned cold, then settled, permanent, invisible to others but always there, a reminder. He led her from the throne room. The palace fell silent behind them. That was 3 years ago. Now Shayla moved through Lucas's fortress like a ghost in silk. Gowns of midnight blue and silver, hair pinned with black pearls, eyes shadowed but never broken. She had learned the corridors by heart. The east wing where he kept his spellbooks, the lower halls where prisoners screamed behind iron doors, the tower chamber where he slept and summoned her most nights. She had begged him every time. Afterward, when the sheets were tangled and her body ached, whispered pleas against his neck. "Let them go. You've had me. You've had years. Please." He would stroke her hair, almost tenderly, and murmur, "Not yet, my sweet, not yet." She stopped believing the promises long ago, but she never stopped trying. Chapter 1. Tonight the moon hung low and full, silver light spilling across the black stone floors of the dungeon level. Shayla moved silently, bare feet on cold flagstones, a small basket of bread, dried herbs, and a flask of water tucked under her arm. The guards at the upper stairs had grown accustomed to her midnight visits. She slipped them extra wine, spoke kindly, asked after their families. They looked away when she descended. The dungeon smelled of damp stone, rust, and despair. She reached the last cell, iron bars thick as her wrist, a single torch flickering outside. Inside, a man sat against the wall, tall, broad-shouldered, dark hair fallen over his face. Chains bound his wrists, but he wore them like jewelry, not restraints. His tunic was torn, stained with old blood, but his posture remained straight, unbroken. King Maurice of Thalasser, the island kingdom of endless spells and unbreakable wards, reduced to this. He lifted his head when her shadow fell across the bars. "You again," he said, voice low, rough from disuse. "I told you to stop coming." She knelt, slid the basket through the narrow slot at the bottom of the bars. "Eat," she said. He didn't move. "What do you want, princess?" She met his eyes, deep green, sharp as sea glass. "I want to help you escape." A faint, bitter smile touched his mouth. "And why would the mistress of the Dark King help a prisoner? Because if you get out, you can free your people from the bottle he keeps them in." She paused. "And if you free them, I want you to free mine from the mirror." Maurice studied her, long searching. "You think I can do that? I think you're the only one who might." Silence stretched. Then he reached for the basket, slow, deliberate, and took the bread. "Eat," she repeated. He tore off a piece, chewed, swallowed. "Tell me your name," he said. "Shayla." He nodded once. "Maurice. I know who you are." Another faint smile. "Then you know what he did to my kingdom. Trapped every soul, men, women, children, in a single glass bottle no bigger than my fist. I can still hear them sometimes, whispering, begging." Shayla's throat tightened. "My father, my mother, my brother, trapped in a mirror. I see them every day. They don't move. They don't speak. But their eyes." She looked away. Maurice leaned forward, chains clinking softly. "If I escape, I can shatter his hold on my people. But the dark crystal in his chamber, the heart of his power, must be destroyed. Only then can the spells break." Shayla nodded. "I'll get you out." "How?" "I know the wards, the shift changes, the hidden passages. I can open your cell tonight, 3 hours from now. But when I do, you have to promise me my family first, then yours." Maurice looked at her, really looked. "You're risking everything. I have nothing left to risk." He studied her face, the shadows under her eyes, the faint bruise at her throat half hidden by the high collar of her gown. "Then we have a bargain," he said quietly. Shayla reached through the bars. Maurice hesitated, then placed his hand in hers. The moment their palms met, something sparked, warm, golden, ancient, a soul bond. She felt it snap into place. A thread of light connecting them, invisible but unbreakable. She could sense him now, his heartbeat, his quiet rage, the deep well of power he kept chained inside. He felt her too, her fear, her exhaustion, the endless ache of nights spent in Lucas's bed. They both exhaled at the same moment. "Now you're part of me," Maurice said softly. "And I'm part of you." Shayla nodded. "Tonight," she whispered. 3 hours. She withdrew her hand. Maurice watched her go, shadow slipping up the stairs, basket empty. Then he leaned back against the wall and waited. Chapter 2. The palace slept under a thin veil of moonlight, but Shayla did not. She waited in her chamber. Door cracked just enough to hear the guard's footsteps fade down the corridor. The room was too grand for a prisoner. Velvet drapes the color of midnight, a 4-poster bed carved with twisting vines, a silver mirror on the far wall that she avoided looking into. Every night it reflected her face. Paler now, eyes shadowed, lips pressed thin. But she never looked long. Mirrors were Lucas's favorite cage. 2 hours after the last patrol passed, she moved. She wore a simple black shift, nothing that would rustle or catch light, and soft leather slippers that made no sound. In her hand she carried a small iron key she had lifted from a sleeping guard 3 nights earlier. Her heart beat high and fast, but her hands stayed steady. The hidden passage waited behind a tapestry in the east corridor. A narrow stone slit Lucas had never bothered to seal because he believed no one would dare use it. Shayla slipped inside, pressing the tapestry back into place. Darkness swallowed her. She counted steps, 20 down, 30 right, 12 up, until her fingers found the rusted latch. It gave with a faint click. She emerged in the lower dungeon level, behind a stack of empty crates that smelled of mold and old straw. The torchlight was dim here. She moved like a shadow between cells, past moans and chains and the wet drip of water on stone. Morris's cell was the last. He sat exactly where she had left him, back against the wall, knees drawn up, eyes already fixed on the bars as though he had felt her coming. She knelt, slid the key into the lock. The mechanism resisted for one terrifying heartbeat, then turned. The door swung open with a low groan. Maurice rose slowly, chains clinking, then stepped forward. He towered over her in the dim light, broad shoulders filling the doorway, dark hair falling across his face. Up close he smelled of iron and salt sea, the faint trace of something wild beneath it. He looked down at her, searching. "You came," he said quietly. "I said I would." He reached out, slow, and brushed a stray lock of hair from her cheek. His fingers were cool, calloused. The soul bond hummed at the touch, warm golden thread tightening between them. "You're shaking," he murmured. "I'm terrified," she answered. "But I'm here." Maurice nodded once. He stepped past her into the corridor. She expected him to move fast, run, fight, disappear into shadows. Instead, he waited for her to close the cell door behind them, then offered his hand. "We go together," he said. She took it. They moved as one, silent, quick, through the twisting passages she knew by heart. She led. He followed, senses sharp, listening for footsteps, for the faint violet hum of Lucas's wards. Twice they froze. Once when a guard coughed in a side tunnel, once when a distant door slammed. Each time Morris's grip tightened on hers, steadying her. They reached the outer wall tunnel, the one that opened near the stables. Shayla pushed aside a rusted grate. Cold night air rushed in, carrying the scent of hay and pine. They stepped out. The stables were dark, horses shifting in their stalls. Moonlight silvered the courtyard beyond. Freedom waited just past the gate. Maurice stopped. He turned to her, eyes searching hers in the dim light. "You can still go back," he said. "Tell him you were checking on a prisoner. He might believe you." Shayla shook her head. "If I go back, I never leave again." Maurice studied her, long, careful. "Then we run. Now, together." She opened her mouth to agree. A low, resonant hum filled the air. Violet light flared along the courtyard walls. Wards waking, threads of shadow snaking across stone. Lucas knew. Maurice pulled her behind a stack of hay bales just as the first guards rounded the corner. Torches high, swords drawn. "Search the grounds," one barked. "The prisoner is loose. The queen's mistress too." Shayla's breath caught. Maurice pressed a finger to her lips, gentle, urgent. Through the soul bond she felt his calm. Deep, steady, like the ocean before a storm. He leaned close, mouth at her ear. "We can't outrun them on foot. Not tonight." She nodded barely. He looked toward the stables. "The horses. Fastest one. We ride for the forest. The ward's thin there. My people's old spell lines still linger. If we reach them, I can shield us." Shayla glanced at the courtyard. Guards spreading out, torches bobbing like fireflies. "The black stallion," she whispered. "Lucas's. Fastest in the stables. He keeps it saddled at night." Morris's mouth curved, faint, fierce. "Then we take what's his." They moved low, quick, slipping between stalls. Horses snorted, shifted, but no one cried alarm. Maurice reached the black stallion first. Huge, gleaming coat like polished obsidian, eyes rolling white in the dark. He unlatched the stall. The horse danced sideways. Maurice placed a hand on its neck, murmured something low in an island tongue Shayla didn't know. The stallion stilled. Shayla climbed the stall rail, swung onto the broad back. Maurice followed, strong arms lifting him behind her in one smooth motion. He He wrapped one arm around her waist, the other taking the reins. "Hold on," he said against her ear. He kicked the stall open. The stallion surged forward, hooves thundering on packed earth. Guards shouted. Arrows whistled past, too close. Maurice bent low over her, shielding her body with his as they burst into the courtyard. The black stallion leaped the low fence, landed hard, and galloped for the gate. The wards flared, violet threads snapping toward them like whips. Maurice raised one hand, palm out. Golden light flared from his fingers. Faint at first, then brighter. The soul bond sang, power flowing from him to her, then back again. The violet threads shattered against the golden shield, sparks raining down. They thundered through the gate. The forest swallowed them. Trees closed in, silver trunks, black leaves, moonlight splintering through branches. The stallion ran full out, hooves drumming, breath steaming. Shayla clung to the mane, Morris's arm locked around her waist, his chest pressed to her back. Through the bond she felt his heartbeat, strong, steady, fierce, and beneath it, something new, hope. They didn't stop until the palace lights were only a distant glow behind them. Maurice slowed the stallion to a walk. The forest was quiet here, only the soft rustle of leaves, the distant call of an owl. He rested his chin on her shoulder. "You're safe," he said quietly. "For now." Shayla turned her head just enough to meet his eyes. "Not yet," she answered. "Not until my family is free. Not until yours is." Morris's arm tightened around her. "Then we fight," he said. She nodded. "Together." The stallion walked on, slow, steady, carrying two broken souls deeper into the silver night. Behind them, in the palace, King Lucas stood on his tower balcony. Violet light still flickered along his fingers. He smiled, slow, cold. "So she chooses the prisoner," he murmured to the dark. His eyes glowed brighter. "Then let them run." He raised one hand. A mirror in his chamber rippled. Inside it, three figures remained frozen, watching, waiting. "Soon," Lucas whispered. The mirror stilled. Chapter 3. The forest swallowed them deeper as the moon climbed higher, silver light splintering through black branches like shattered glass. The stallion's hooves thudded soft on moss and fallen leaves, breath steaming in the chill. Shayla leaned back against Morris's chest, his arm still locked around her waist, steady as iron. Through the soul bond she felt the steady drum of his heart, the quiet burn of his rage, the flicker of something warmer when his chin brushed her hair. They rode until the trees thinned into a small hollow ringed by ancient oaks. Maurice slowed the stallion to a walk, then stopped. The clearing was sheltered, high roots forming natural walls, a narrow stream cutting through the center, moonlight pooling in the water like spilled mercury. He dismounted first, reaching up to lift her down. His hands lingered at her waist, a heartbeat longer than necessary. Careful, but not quite careful enough to hide the tremor. "You're cold," he said. "I'm always cold now," she answered. 3 years in his palace. The warmth never quite reaches. Morris's jaw tightened. He led the stallion to the stream to drink, then gathered dry branches and kindling from the undergrowth. His movements were efficient, practiced, someone who had spent years on the run or in hiding. When the small fire caught, golden flames licking upward, he gestured for her to sit. She sank onto a flat stone near the warmth, drawing her knees up, arms wrapped around them. Maurice sat across from her, close enough that the firelight painted his face in shifting gold and shadow. He studied her without speaking for a long moment. "You didn't have to come," he said finally. "You could have stayed, played the part a little longer, waited for a better moment." Shayla shook her head. "There are no better moments with him. Every day is the same cage. Every night." She stopped, throat closing. She looked into the fire instead. "I couldn't breathe anymore." Maurice leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "You're breathing now." She met his eyes, deep green, steady. "Barely." He reached across the small fire, slow, and took her hand. His palm was warm, rough. The soul bond flared gently at the contact. Golden thread humming, sharing heat, sharing pulse. Tell me what he did, Maurice said quietly. Not the details if you don't want. Just enough. Shayla stared at their joined hands. He promised freedom. Every time. After the first night, he said 1 year. Then 2. Then soon. I believed him at first. Then I stopped. But I kept going back because the mirror still held them. Because their eyes still followed me every time I passed it. My mother's hand still reaching. My brother still screaming my name. Her voice cracked on the last word. Morris's thumb traced slow circles on the back of her hand. I hear my people too, he said. In the bottle. Not screams, whispers. Names. Prayers. Lullabies. Every night in that cell I listened. I counted them. 2,417 souls. And every time I thought I'd break, I remembered one more face. One more voice. Shayla looked up. How do you keep going? I don't. He gave a faint, bitter smile. I just refuse to stop. Silence settled between them, comfortable now, not heavy. Maurice shifted closer until their knees nearly touched. The soul bond, he said. It's old island magic. The Lasser blood. It lets us share strength. Share power. If you let me, I can teach you to draw on it. To shield yourself. To fight back. Shayla nodded slowly. Show me. He lifted their joined hands, palm to palm. Close your eyes. Feel the thread. This gold. Warm. Like sunlight under water. She did. The bond bloomed in her mind. Golden lines stretching between their hearts. She felt him. Deep ocean calm. Fierce protective rage. Quiet grief like a tide that never quite receded. And beneath it power. Ancient. Salt and storm and unbreakable wards. Breathe into it, Maurice murmured. Pull gently, like drawing water from a well. She inhaled. Golden warmth flowed into her. Slow at first, then stronger. It chased the chill from her bones, steadied her heartbeat, sharpened her senses. She heard the owl overhead clearer, smelled the pine sharper, felt the fire's heat like a living thing against her skin. She opened her eyes. Maurice watched her. Expression soft, almost awed. You're glowing, he said quietly. She looked down. A faint golden light shimmered under her skin. Veins lit from within, fading slowly as she exhaled. It feels like I can breathe again, she whispered. Morris's thumb brushed her wrist, over the faint scar where Lucas's violet bracelet had burned cold years ago. You can, he said. And you will. They sat like that, hands clasped, fire crackling, until the moon reached its peak. Then Maurice stiffened. He lifted his head, listening. Shadows, he said. Coming fast. Shayla felt it too through the bond. A cold violet hum approaching from the east, like frost spreading over glass. Lucas's seekers, she whispered. Maurice stood, pulling her up with him. We can't outrun them on horseback. Not through thick forest. He looked toward the stream, narrow, but deep enough. The water, he said. It carries old wards from my people. If we cross, it might mask us long enough to lose them. Shayla nodded. They doused the fire, kicked dirt over the embers, then led the stallion into the stream. The water was ice cold, rising to mid-thigh. Shayla gasped at the first step. Morris's arm came around her waist again, steadying her. They waded across, slow, careful, stone slippery underfoot. Halfway, the violet hum grew louder, closer. Maurice stopped. He turned her to face him, water swirling around their legs. If they catch us, he began. They won't, she said fiercely. Not tonight. He searched her face, then leaned down and pressed his forehead to hers. Stay close, he whispered. She nodded. They reached the far bank just as violet light flickered through the trees behind them. Maurice pulled her into the undergrowth. Thick ferns, low branches, hiding them both. The stallion stood still, ears pricked, silent as though it understood. Shadows passed, dark shapes moving fast, violet threads sweeping the ground like searching fingers. One paused, close enough that Shayla could see the faint glow of its eyes. She held her breath. Morris's hand found hers, squeezed once. The shadow moved on. They waited until the violet light faded completely. Then Maurice exhaled, slow, ragged. "They'll circle back," he said. "We need to keep moving. Find shelter. Rest. Tomorrow we plan for the crystal." Shayla looked at him. Firelight long gone, only moonlight now. "Tomorrow," she agreed. They walked deeper into the forest. Hand in hand, soul bond humming softly between them. For the first time in 3 years, Shayla felt something dangerous bloom inside her chest. Hope. And beside it, something even more dangerous. The beginning of love. Chapter 4. The hunter's cabin appeared at dawn. Half-ruined, moss-cloaked, tucked against a rocky outcrop where the forest grew thickest. Its thatched roof sagged under years of rain and neglect, but the walls still stood, stone and timber holding against the wind. Vines had claimed the door, but Maurice pushed through them with one shoulder, clearing a path for Shayla. Inside smelled of damp earth and old smoke. A single room. A cold hearth, a narrow cot with a threadbare blanket, a cracked table, 2 stools. One window shuttered, glass long gone, let in pale gray light. It was not safe. It was not comfortable. It was shelter. Maurice barred the door with a fallen beam. "We rest here today," he said. "Move at nightfall. Lucas's seekers will sweep the open paths first. The deep woods buy us time." Shayla nodded, too exhausted to speak. She sank onto the cot. Her legs trembled from the ride, from the cold stream, from everything. Maurice knelt before her, took her hands in his, rubbed warmth back into her fingers. "You're ice," he murmured. "I'll thaw." She tried to smile, came out weak. He rose, built a small fire in the hearth, using only dry twigs from inside so no smoke would rise too high. When flames crackled low, he draped the blanket around her shoulders, then sat on the stool opposite, elbows on knees, watching her. "Tell me about your family," he said quietly. "Before." Shayla stared into the fire. "My father, Harlan, was kind. Stern but kind. He taught me to ride before I could read. My mother, Elara, sang to me every night. Old island lullabies she learned from her grandmother. Rowan, my brother, was 8 when they were taken. He wanted to be a knight. He practiced with a wooden sword in the courtyard, always shouting my name when he won a pretend battle." Her voice cracked on the last word. Maurice reached across, slow, and brushed a tear from her cheek with his thumb. "I'll free them," he said. "I swear it on every soul in the bottle." She caught his hand before he could pull away. "And your people?" 2417, he repeated, like a prayer. "Fishermen, weavers, children who still ask their mothers when the sky will stop being glass. I see their faces every time I close my eyes." Shayla turned his hand over, traced the faint scars across his palm. "We'll free them too." He looked at her, really looked, searching for doubt. She gave him none. Instead, she leaned forward until their foreheads touched. The soul bond warmed, golden thread brightening, sharing not just strength now, but memory fragments. She saw flashes of his island, turquoise waves crashing on white sand, children laughing as they chased glowing fish, a woman, his mother, braiding flowers into his hair before a festival. He saw hers. Summer evenings in her father's garden, Rowan tugging her braid, Elara humming while she braided flowers of her own. They stayed like that, foreheads pressed, breathing in rhythm, until the fire burned low. Maurice pulled back first, only far enough to meet her eyes. "We need to plan for the crystal," he said. "It's in his private chamber, guarded by shadow wards and bloodlocks. Only someone already marked by his magic can touch it without dying instantly." Shayla lifted her wrist, where the faint violet bracelet still circled, invisible to most but always burning cold against her skin. "I'm marked." Morris's expression darkened. "You go in alone, you might not come out." "I know." He stood, paced once, twice, then stopped. "I won't let you." She rose too slow, stiff. "You won't have a choice. If we both go, he'll sense the bond. He'll know. But if I go alone, pretend I'm returning willingly, he might lower his guard long enough for me to reach it." Morris's hands clenched at his sides. "And if he doesn't?" If he locks you away again, or worse, then you break in after me. She stepped closer. The bond will tell you where I am. It will guide you. He looked down at her, fury and fear warring in his eyes. I just found you, he said quietly. I'm not ready to lose you. Shayla reached up, cupped his face. You won't lose me. Not completely. The bond stays, even if. Don't. She pressed her thumb to his lips, silencing him. Tonight we rest. Tomorrow night I go back. You wait here. When I have the crystal, I'll call you through the bond. We destroy it together. Maurice closed his eyes, leaned into her touch. I hate this plan. I know. She rose on her toes, pressed her lips to his. It was soft at first, tentative, almost careful. Then deeper, hungrier. His arms came around her, pulling her close, one hand sliding into her hair, the other at the small of her back. The kiss tasted of salt and smoke and desperate hope. The soul bond flared, golden light pulsing between them, sharing breath, sharing heartbeat, sharing everything they had not yet dared to say. When they parted, both breathing hard, Maurice rested his forehead against hers again. If anything happens to you, it won't. He kissed her once more, brief, fierce, then stepped back. Rest, he said. I'll keep watch. She nodded, sank back onto the cot. He draped the blanket over her, tucked it around her shoulders, then sat by the door, sword across his knees. Shayla closed her eyes. Through the bond she felt him. Steady sentinel, quiet storm. Sleep came slow, but it came. In the dark behind her lids, she dreamed. Not of mirrors or bottles. Of turquoise waves. Of a man with green eyes smiling at her under an open sky. Of freedom. She woke once, hours later, to find Maurice still watching the door. He met her gaze across the dim room. Sleep, he whispered. She did. And through the bond, she felt him whisper something else. Too soft for words, but clear as sunlight. Stay safe. I'm trying, she sent back. The fire burned low. Outside, the forest waited. And somewhere far behind them, in a tower lit by violet light, King Lucas stood before a mirror that no longer showed 3 frozen figures. He smiled slow, cold. So she runs with the island king. He traced one finger along the glass. Then let them dream of freedom. Violet threads snaked outward, searching. The hunt was on. Chapter 5. The palace gates loomed ahead like the jaws of a sleeping beast. Black iron wrought with twisting vines and violet runes that pulsed faintly under the midday sun. Shayla approached on foot, hood drawn low, the black stallion left hidden in the forest with Maurice. She had ridden part of the way alone, then walked the last mile to avoid drawing attention. Every step felt heavier than the last. The soul bond tugged at her chest, a constant golden thread pulling her back toward the cabin, toward him. She stopped at the outer ward line, felt the violet hum wash over her like cold water. The bracelet on her wrist flared once. Acknowledgement, welcome, warning. The guards at the gate recognized her instantly. Lady Shayla, one said, voice careful. The king has been searching. I know, she answered. I'm returning. They exchanged glances, then bowed and opened the gate. She walked through without looking back. The courtyard was quiet, too quiet. No servants hurried past. No stable boys called to each other. Only the soft clink of armor and the distant murmur of wind through the towers. Lucas waited on the steps of the main hall. He wore black velvet trimmed in silver, hair unbound, falling in dark waves over his shoulders. His eyes glowed violet when they met hers. My sweet, he said, voice smooth as silk over steel. You wandered far. Shayla lifted her chin. I needed air. He descended the steps slowly, each footfall deliberate. Air, he repeated. And perhaps company? She said nothing. He stopped in front of her, close enough that she could smell the scorched iron scent that always clung to him. You smell of pine, he murmured, and salt sea, and something golden. The soul bond tightened, Morris's alarm flashing through her like a distant wave. Lucas lifted one hand, brushed a leaf from her hood. His fingers lingered near her cheek. "I could be angry," he said softly. "I could punish you, lock you away, chain you to my bed until you forget the taste of freedom." Shayla held his gaze steady. "But you won't." He smiled slow, almost tender. "No, I won't." His hand dropped. "Because I like watching you fight. It makes the surrender sweeter." He turned, gestured toward the hall. "Come, walk with me." She followed, because refusal now would end everything. They moved through the corridors she knew too well. Servants bowed low as they passed, eyes averted. Lucas spoke lightly, of weather, of a new spell he had perfected, of how quiet the palace felt without her. At the door to his private tower chamber he paused. "Join me tonight," he said. Not a question. Shayla swallowed once. "I need rest first." His eyes narrowed, violet flaring brighter. "You've had 3 days of rest in the forest, my love. With the Island King." She didn't flinch. Lucas laughed, low, delighted. "You think I didn't feel it? The moment you touched him. The golden thread snapping into place. It's beautiful, really. Tragic. But beautiful." He stepped closer, until she had to tilt her head to meet his eyes. "But you're still mine," he whispered. "The bargain stands. Your family in the mirror. Your body in my bed. And now, your little rebellion ends." He reached for her wrist, fingers closing around the violet bracelet. Pain flared, cold fire racing up her arm. The soul bond screamed. Morris's fury and fear crashing through her like a storm. Lucas smiled wider. "Go to your room," he said. "Rest. Tonight you come to me, willingly, or the mirror shatters, and your family falls silent forever." He released her. Shayla stumbled back, arm burning. She turned, walked away, head high. Guards followed at a distance, 2 new ones she didn't know. They took up positions outside her chamber door when she entered. The lock clicked from the outside. She was caged again. She sank onto the bed, head in hands. Through the bond she reached for Maurice. Desperate, wordless. "I'm inside. He knows. He's locked me in. Guards at the door. He wants me tonight." Morris's response came instant, fierce, steady. "I'm coming. Hold on. No, wait. I can still reach the crystal. The chamber is in his tower. If I can get out for even a few minutes." "You're not going alone." "I have to. If you come now, he'll sense the bond stronger. He'll kill you before you reach the walls." Silence. Then his voice in her mind, raw. "I can't lose you. You won't. Promise." She felt his hesitation, then reluctant acceptance. "I'll wait. But if he touches you, if he hurts you, the bond will tell me. And I will burn this place to the ground to reach you." Shayla closed her eyes, tears slipping free. "I know." She waited. Hours passed. The sun slid lower, golden light turning red through the window bars. A maid came, young, nervous, carried a tray of food and wine. Shayla recognized her, Lyra, one of the few who still met her eyes, who slipped extra bread into her basket for the prisoners below. Lyra set the tray down, then leaned close. "The guards change in 10 minutes, she whispered. "The new ones drink. They'll be slow. There's a loose stone behind the wardrobe, leads to the service passage. It comes out near the tower stairs." Shayla stared at her. "Why?" Lyra looked toward the door, then back. "Because you brought food to my brother when he was chained below. You never looked away. And someone has to." Shayla reached out, squeezed Lyra's hand. "Thank you." Lyra slipped out. 10 minutes later the guards outside grumbled. Shift change. Shayla moved fast. She pushed the wardrobe aside, found the loose stone. It gave with a soft scrape. The passage was narrow, dusty, dark, but it sloped upward toward the tower. She crawled, elbows scraping stone, until she reached a grate overlooking the tower corridor. She waited. A guard passed, yawning. Then silence. She pushed the grate open, dropped down, landed soft. The corridor to Lucas's chamber was empty. She ran, bare feet silent, heart pounding. The door to his private rooms was warded, violet threads crisscrossing the wood. She lifted her wrist. The bracelet flared, acknowledging her. The threads parted. She slipped inside. The chamber was dim, curtains drawn. Only a single violet-flamed candle burning on the desk. Shelves of grimoires. A long mirror on the far wall. Empty now, no frozen family inside. The dark crystal sat on a black velvet pedestal in the center. Fist-sized, pulsing with deep purple light. Veins of shadow moving beneath its surface like living smoke. She approached slow. The air grew colder, thicker. She reached out. Her fingers brushed the crystal. Pain exploded, violet fire racing up her arm, into her chest. She gasped, dropped to her knees. The soul bond roared. Morris's voice crashing through her mind. Shayla, I have it, almost. The crystal pulsed harder. The door slammed open. Lucas stood there, eyes blazing violet. You disappoint me, my sweet. He raised one hand. Violet threads lashed out, wrapping around her wrists, her ankles, lifting her off the floor. She cried out, pain-searing. The crystal tumbled from her grasp, rolled across the floor. Lucas stepped closer, smiling. You thought you could steal from me? From your king. He crouched, picked up the crystal, held it before her eyes. You're mine, he whispered. Body, soul, everything. Shayla struggled, threads tightening. Through the bond, she screamed for Maurice. Now, she felt him move, fierce, desperate, racing through the forest toward her. Lucas laughed. Let him come, he said. I'll trap him in a bottle next to your family. You can watch them all forever. He lifted the crystal, pressed it to her chest. Violet light flared, burning. Shayla screamed, and the world went black. Chapter 6. The world came back in fragments. Violet light pulsing behind her eyelids, cold stone against her back, the faint metallic taste of blood on her tongue. Shayla woke slowly, body heavy, limbs leaden. She was lying on the floor of Lucas's private chamber, wrists and ankles still bound by the shadow threads, though they had loosened enough for her to breathe. The dark crystal lay a few feet away, its purple glow dimmed, as though it had fed and was sated. Lucas stood over her, silhouette framed by the violet candle flame. You're awake, he said softly. Good. He crouched, reached down, and lifted her chin with 2 fingers. His touch was cool, almost gentle. I could have killed you, he murmured. One twist of the crystal and your soul would have shattered like glass. But I didn't. Shayla forced her eyes to focus on his face. Storm cloud eyes glowing brighter now, lips curved in a smile that held no warmth. Why? She rasped. Because I still want you. He traced her jawline, slow, possessive. Broken, obedient. Mine. The Island King can run. He can fight. But he can't have you. He released her chin, stood. Guards. 2 armored men entered, faces hidden behind visors. Take her to the tower room. No windows, no visitors. Food and water once a day. She stays until she remembers who she belongs to. They lifted her, rough hands under her arms, and dragged her out. The corridor blurred. Stairs. Another corridor. A heavy door opening. They threw her onto a narrow cot in a windowless cell. Stone walls, single torch, iron door that clanged shut behind them. Darkness swallowed her. She curled on her side, body aching, soul bond flickering weakly. Maurice. His response came instant, fierce, frantic. I'm coming. I feel you. Hold on. She closed her eyes, tears slipping free. I'm trying. The bond warmed, golden thread stretching across the miles, carrying his strength to her in thin pulses. She clung to it like a lifeline. Hours passed, or minutes. Time lost meaning in the dark. She heard footsteps outside the door. Slow, deliberate. The lock turned. Lucas entered, alone. He carried a small silver tray, bread, cheese, a goblet of wine. He set it on the floor beside the cot. Eat, he said. She didn't move. He sat on the edge of the cot, close enough that she could feel the chill radiating from him. You're starving yourself to spite me, he said. It won't work. I can keep you alive forever if I choose. The same way I keep your family breathing in the mirror. Shayla turned her head, just enough to look at him. You lied, she whispered. You never intended to free them. Lucas smiled, slow, almost sad. I lied because you needed hope. Hope makes surrender sweeter. He reached out, brushed hair from her face. I could be kind, Shayla. I could be gentle. I could give you jewels, power, anything you ask. Just stop fighting. She turned her face away. I'd rather die. His smile faded. Then die slowly, he said quietly. And watch your island king burn when he comes for you. He stood, left the tray, left her in the dark. The door locked again. Shayla stared at the ceiling, stone cold against her back. Through the bond she reached for Maurice, desperate now. He's waiting for you. He knows you'll come. I'm already moving, came the reply, fierce, steady. I'm in the tunnels beneath the palace. The old sewer lines. They lead under the walls. I'll be there soon. Shayla closed her eyes, tears slipping sideways. Be careful. Always. She waited. The torch sputtered, lowered to embers. Footsteps again, different this time. Lighter. Hesitant. The lock turned. Lyra slipped inside, carrying a small lantern and a bundle. She knelt beside the cot, eyes wide with fear. I heard them talking, she whispered. They're setting traps outside. For the Island King. Shayla pushed herself up, arms trembling. How did you get the key? Lyra glanced at the door. I stole it from the guard when he drank. He's sleeping now. But not for long. She unrolled the bundle, small dagger, a vial of clear liquid, a folded map. The dagger is iron, breaks shadow threads. The vial is salt water from the sea, disrupts violet wards. The map shows the fastest way from here to his chamber. If you can reach the crystal again. Shayla took the dagger, tested the edge. I will. Lyra helped her stand, legs unsteady, but holding. Go, Shayla said. Before they find you. Lyra hesitated, then hugged her. Quick. Fierce. Be safe. Then she was gone, door closing softly behind her. Shayla waited, counted heartbeats, then moved. The dagger sliced through the shadow threads at her wrists and ankles. Pain flared, then faded. She drank half the vial, salt water bitter on her tongue. The violet bracelet dimmed, weakened. She slipped into the corridor. The palace was quiet, too quiet. She followed the map downstairs, through service passages, past snoring guards. She reached the tower stairs. The door to Lucas's chamber stood open. Violet light spilled out. She stepped inside. Lucas stood by the pedestal, back to her, the dark crystal in his hand. He turned slowly, smiling. You're predictable, my sweet. He raised the crystal. Violet light flared, threads lashing toward her. She dove, rolled, came up with the dagger in hand. The threads missed, slammed into the wall. She lunged, aimed for the crystal. Lucas caught her wrist, twisted. Pain exploded. Cried out, dropped the dagger. He pulled her close, chest to chest. You think you can destroy what made me? He whispered. The crystal pulsed, bright, hungry. Shayla felt the drain begin. Violet light seeping into her veins, pulling at her strength. Through the bond she screamed for Maurice. Now, she felt him, closer. Racing through tunnels, heart pounding. Lucas laughed, low, triumphant. Let him come. I'll trap him in the mirror with your family. You can watch him watch you fade. Shayla twisted, broke free, grabbed the crystal. Pain seared, white-hot. She held on, teeth gritted. The crystal cracked. Small fracture along one side. Lucas snarled, grabbed her throat. You dare. The door exploded inward. Maurice stood there, sword drawn, eyes blazing green gold. The soul bond roared, power surging between them. Golden light flared from Shayla's hand, into the crystal. Shattered, violet shards flying. The wards in the room collapsed, violet threads dissolving into smoke. Lucas staggered back, eyes wide. No! Maurice charged, sword slashing. Lucas raised a hand, shadow bolt firing. Maurice dodged, rolled, came up swinging. The fight was brutal. Steel against shadow, gold against violet. Shayla stumbled back. Crystal fragment clutched in her hand. Small, sharp, pulsing weakly. She felt the power in it, dark, hungry. She looked at Lucas, then at Maurice. Through the bond she sent one word. Now. Maurice ducked a shadow lash, drove his sword forward. Lucas parried, too slow. The blade bit deep into his shoulder. Lucas roared, violet light exploding outward. Shayla stepped forward, crystal raised. She slammed it into the floor. The fragment cracked wider, violet light pouring out, then reversing. Pulled into Lucas. He screamed, body arching. Shadows poured from him, into the crystal, sucked back into the broken heart of his own power. He fell to his knees, eyes dimming. Shayla stood over him, breath ragged. "You kept them in mirrors," she whispered. "Now stay in one." She lifted the crystal fragment, still pulsing, and pressed it to his chest. Violet light flared, then collapsed inward. Lucas's body folded, shrinking, pulled into the fragment. The crystal sealed, small, dark, silent. He was gone, trapped forever. Shayla dropped to her knees, crystal clattering beside her. Maurice was there, arms around her, holding her tight. "You did it," he whispered. She clung to him, tears falling. "Not yet." She reached for the mirror on the wall, the one that had held her family. She pressed her palm to the glass. The soul bond flared, golden light pouring through her, into the mirror. The glass rippled. 3 figures appeared, unfrozen, moving. Harlan, Elara, Rowan. They looked out, eyes wide. Then the mirror cracked, once, twice. Shayla screamed, pushing harder. The glass shattered. Light exploded. Her family stepped out, solid, breathing. Rowan ran to her, small arms around her neck. "Shayla!" Elara and Harlan knelt beside her, tears falling. Maurice held her steady. Through the bond she felt his strength, pouring into her, keeping her conscious. But the crystal fragment, still in her hand, pulsed once more. Dark, hungry. It had taken Lucas. Now it wanted more. Shayla looked at Maurice, eyes wide. "It's not over." He took the fragment from her, careful. "We destroy it. Together." He raised it high, smashed it against the stone floor. The crystal exploded, violet shards flying, then dissolving into smoke. The palace wards collapsed. Silence. True silence. Shayla's family surrounded her, holding her, crying. Maurice knelt beside her, took her face in his hands. "You're free," he whispered. She looked at him, tears streaming. "So are you." He kissed her, soft, fierce, golden light flaring between them one last time. The bond hummed warm, whole. He let go and hugged her tight, and Shayla noticed a great change happening. She tried to release their embrace to look at him, but his grip was a bit too tight. Chapter 7. The first light of dawn broke over the freed kingdoms like a promise kept after years of shadow. Shayla stood on the balcony of what had once been Lucas's tower, now hers, watching the sun rise in a blaze of gold and pink. The palace below bustled with life. Servants moving freely through the courtyards, laughter echoing where only silence had reigned before. Gates stood open wide. People streamed in from the outer villages, eyes wide with wonder, voices rising in songs of old freedom. Her family was with her. Harlan clapping shoulders and organizing patrols. Elara tending to the wounded with gentle hands. Rowan running through the halls with other children. Wooden sword forgotten in favor of real play. They looked at her sometimes with quiet awe. With tears they tried to hide, knowing what she had endured in silence for them. But the joy was bittersweet. The bottle had shattered with the crystal. Morris's people pouring out in a rush of golden light, souls reforming into flesh and breath. Thalasser folk. Fishermen with salt-crusted beards, weavers with calloused fingers, children who blinked at the open sky as though seeing it for the first time. They had bowed to her, called her liberator, queen of the United Realms. She had accepted the title because someone had to. The kingdoms needed a guardian. And she was changed now, half-shadow from the crystal's touch, able to command mirrors and bottles and the dark spaces between. She could feel them all. Portals waiting in every reflective surface. Doorways to realms Lucas had twisted and she had untwisted. But Maurice was gone. The final seal had taken him after all was done. A soul needs to complete the seal. Maurice has known and kept the information from her. So he had sacrificed himself. She had felt it through the bond. his last desperate surge of strength piecing the mirror together, his blood sealing the shards, pulling her back from the void. The golden thread had snapped sharp, final, leaving a hollow place in her chest where his heartbeat had echoed. He had held her tight till he fade into the tin air. His hands was the last part to fade, his grip very tight, and no matter how much Shayla tried to pull away, she couldn't till he faded completely. She had searched the rubble, hands blistered, tears carving paths through soot. Nothing remained but ash and twisted iron. He was gone. Now she ruled alone, powerful, yes, heartbroken, always. The days blurred into peace. Kingdoms united under her banner. Trade flowed like rivers. Spells were woven for healing, not harm. The dark crystal's fragments were buried deep in the earth, warded by golden light she had learned from Morris's bond. But at night, when the palace quieted and moonlight turned everything silver, she stood before the great mirror in the hall, the one that had held her family. It no longer trapped. Instead it shimmered soft, inviting. One evening, as the moon rose full, she placed her palm against the glass. The surface rippled, and Maurice stepped through. Not flesh, not fully. A reflection made real. Solid enough to touch, warm enough to hold, but tied to the mirror's light. His green eyes shone brighter now, hair still dark and tousled, smile faint but true. "Shayla," he said, voice echoing softly, like wind over waves. She reached for him, fingers trembling. "You're here." He caught her hand, pulled her close. "The bond," he said against her hair. "It didn't break completely. When my blood sealed the mirror, it bound me to it. I'm spirit now, shadow and light, but I can visit, through reflections, through dreams." Tears slipped down her cheeks, hot, silent. "You died for me. I lived for you." He cupped her face, thumbs brushing away the tears. "And I'll keep living, in every mirror, every still water, every dream you have under moonlight." She leaned into him, arms wrapping tight. "I miss you," she whispered. "Every day." "I'm here," he answered. "Always." They stood like that, bodies pressed close, moonlight pouring around them, until the mirror hummed softly, calling him back. He kissed her, slow, deep, tasting of salt sea and golden light. Then he stepped away, back into the glass. His reflection lingered, smiling, hand pressed to the surface. Shayla placed her palm against his. "I love you," she said. The words echoed soft, eternal. His lips moved, silent but clear. "I love you too." The mirror stilled, but the bond remained, faint golden thread, stretching between worlds. In the years that followed, Shayla ruled wisely. Queen of light and shadow, guardian of portals no one could misuse again. Her family healed. Harlan advising, Alara nurturing, Rowan growing into a knight who fought with heart, not just blade. The kingdoms flourished. And every night, under moonlight, Shayla stood before a mirror. Any mirror, and called his name. He always answered. Dreams and reflections became their realm. Stolen moments, whispered promises, love that endured beyond fire and glass. She was heartbroken no more. She was whole, in a way only those who have lost and found again can be. The sun rose higher. The world turned. And in every reflection, a green-eyed king waited, smiling, for his queen. Epilogue. Years turned like pages in an ancient book, each one carrying the kingdoms further from the shadow of Lucas's reign. Shayla's rule became legend, whispered around hearthfires in distant villages, sung in ballads by wandering minstrels who traveled the newly opened roads between realms. She was called the Mirror Queen, guardian of light and shadow, the one who had shattered cages and rebuilt worlds from their fragments. Thrones were offered to her in Thalasser and her father's old hall, but she chose instead a simple tower in the heart of the United Lands, a place where mirrors hung on every wall, not as prisons but as doors. Her family flourished in the peace she had won. Harlan, with his stern kindness, became her advisor, guiding alliances with a hand steadier than any king's. Alara turned the palace gardens into havens of healing, where herbs grew wild and children learned the old songs without fear. Rowan grew tall and strong, a knight not of steel but of stories. He rode the borders, collecting tales from freed souls, ensuring no one forgot the cost of freedom. They looked at Shayla with eyes full of gratitude and quiet sorrow, knowing the price she had paid was etched not just in history, but in her heart. The realms healed. Trade caravans crossed once forbidden borders, carrying spices from Thalasser's sun-kissed shores to the cool forests of her homeland. Witches who had hidden in shadows emerged, weaving spells of protection around villages. Spirits, those wronged by Lucas's dark arts, found rest, their whispers turning from cries to gentle winds that carried seeds across fields. The Bottles people rebuilt their island homes, fishing nets gleaming under open skies, children laughing as they chased waves that no longer felt like glass ceilings. Shayla walked among them often, hood drawn low, listening more than speaking. She commanded the portals with a touch, mirrors that led to hidden realms for refuge, bottles that held only healing potions now, trees that whispered secrets to those who needed guidance. Her power had grown, half human, half spirit from the crystal's lingering shadow, allowing her to step between worlds, mend what was broken, guard against new darkness. But it came with a price. She aged slower than others, her skin forever touched by faint golden light, her eyes holding echoes of storms she had weathered alone. Nights were hardest. When the moon rose full and silver, she returned to her tower, climbed the winding stairs to the chamber where the great mirror hung. It was no ordinary glass now. The shards from Lucas's final prison had been woven into its frame, sealed with golden wards she had learned from Morris's bond. The surface shimmered constantly, soft, inviting, a portal between the living and what lay beyond. She placed her palm against it, felt the familiar hum. The glass rippled, and Maurice appeared. He stepped through, form shimmering at the edges, solid enough to touch but tied to the moonlight that called him. His green eyes held the same fierce light, his dark hair tousled by an unseen wind, his smile faint but real. Each visit he seemed more vivid, perhaps because her power grew, or perhaps because love refused to fade completely. "Shayla," he said, voice echoing like waves on a distant shore. She reached for him, fingers intertwining with his. "You're here," she whispered, as she always did. He pulled her close, arms wrapping around her, warm with the memory of life. Always. They sat on the balcony under the stars, his head on her shoulder, her hand in his hair. He told her of the spirit realm. Endless seas where freed souls sailed without fear, islands of light where laughter echoed eternal, shadows that no longer hunted but danced. She told him of the living world, a new alliance signed with a far kingdom, a child born to Lyra who carried Morris's name in honor, a festival where people shattered glass in remembrance of cages broken. Some nights they spoke little, content to hold each other, watch the moon trace its path across the sky. The soul bond still hummed between them, fainter now, but unbreakable, a golden thread stretching across the veil. "I miss the feel of waves under my feet," he said one night, voice soft. She traced his palm, the scars that had faded but not vanished. "Then come with me tomorrow, to the shore. The mirror can open there too." He smiled, kissed her knuckles. "And dance in the sand?" "And dance." He pulled her up, twirled her slowly under the moonlight, her gown swirling like sea foam. Laughter bubbled from her, real, light, the kind she had almost forgotten. When the moon began its descent, the mirror hummed, calling him back. He held her face in his hands, thumbs brushing her cheeks. "Until tomorrow," he said. She kissed him, slow, deep, tasting of salt and golden light and forever. "Until tomorrow." He stepped back into the glass. His reflection lingered, hand pressed to the surface, eyes locked on hers. She placed her palm against his. The mirror stilled, but the bond remained. In time, Shayla became more than queen. She became legend. Children whispered her name to ward off nightmares. Lovers gazed into mirrors hoping for glimpses of lost loves. Guardians etched her symbol, a golden thread through shattered glass, on their shields. Her heartbreak healed. Not completely, never completely, but enough. Enough to laugh with her brother, to walk gardens with her mother, to advise her father with a steady voice, enough to rule with light in her heart. And every night, under moonlight, she called his name. He always answered. The realms turned on, free, whole, alive. And in every reflection, love endured, beyond fire, beyond glass, beyond even death. This story took days for me to put together like this. I need encouragement to keep moving, so please don't leave without subscribing and clicking the like button.